Hi, everyone. So for the second part of this module, we'll talk about social and consumer psychology. So social psychology is something you may have taken a class in. It's really the study of the interaction between people and their environment. In fact, when I took social psychology as a graduate student, our textbook was just called The Person and the Environment. So it's also about how people interact with other people in those environments. Essentially, how do you collaborate? What relationships are you in? What works, what doesn't? It could be romantic relationships, could be, looking at friendship type relationships. A lot of really important topics are studied by social psychologists, such as prejudices, biases, things along those lines, how those come into play. It's sort of the intersection of psychology and sociology. In fact, our social psychology course at Wesleyan is cross-listed in both the psychology and the sociology departments. Our social psychologist on staff is Dr. Craig Jackson. So you may have had a class with him online. So he focuses in on social issues and teaches these classes. Consumer psychology is an interesting thing for them to have sort of lumped with social psychology. Certainly they can be similar, but I think of consumer psychology as more similar to IO in some ways. It's sort of like a combination of industrial organizational and social psychology. So consumer psychologists really focus on things like marketing, advertising. How do we figure out what will appeal to people? How do we figure out what will actually work to get them to buy a product or engage with a service? So it's about taking social psychology principles and applying them to a workplace to particularly try to get consumers interested in your products. So there might be a lot of research that goes on for this in terms of focus groups and what are people wanting, what are people needing. And you have some really interesting articles in this section about what is ethical about this. Like, what are the ethics of advertising to kids, for example? Because certainly that's one, target market you could be involved in here. As with sort of the first half of our module where we talked about experimental psychology and the vast array of fields, social and consumer psychology can certainly fall under that as well. So you would find these people in academia as well, doing research in a university setting and also teaching. And consumer psychologists may be interdisciplinary as well, working with, say, business and management departments. So again, just a little thumbnail sketch of what these fields entail, and your readings will be much more illuminating about everything that goes into them.